Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Gwilda Wiyaka's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the Science of Magic or endorsed in any manner by Gwilda Wiyaka, Relmar McConnell Media Company, its affiliated networks, stations, or employees. Welcome to the Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, a program dedicated to uncovering the unified nature of reality and humanity's ever-evolving place as truly galactic beings. For more information on the Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit us online at www.thescienceofmagic.net.
The Science of Magic, a place where science and magic come together to transform fact into evolving truth. We're proudly coming to you through the ever-expanding X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net, and can also be found on our website, thescienceofmagic.net. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. This hour we'll be exploring the inspired life. Socialization is the act of conditioning the individual to accept or behave in accordance with social norms or expectations. It's implemented to maintain order and provide a template for a successful, if mundane, life. Traditionally, every society has its own set of norms through which individuals are socialized. This sets the framework for the reality and belief system of the members. Historically, the method has worked well enough, but now our world is shrinking, societies blending or clashing. What served well in the past causes undue confusion and conflict when we tenaciously hold to the old ways that have defined us as individuals and as cultures. What would we be without the structure we've been indoctrinated into? What indeed? The downside of socialization is that it stifles individual expression in favor of compliance and conformity. Only small variances are tolerated. We're taught to police each other. Love and acceptance is withdrawn from anyone who goes too far beyond what is considered acceptable. We shun anyone bold enough to challenge the status quo. Yet within each of us resides a maverick, an artisan, a poetic heart, a creative thinker, just waiting to be set free. All of our greatest advancements have come from the mavericks, not the complacent. All our finest art from the unconventional. Our greatest gifts lie in our individuality. We're socialized into religion, but only through spirituality can we be set free to transcend the mundane. Only in recognizing and embracing our individual creative spirit can we bring our unique puzzle piece to the great jigsaw puzzle called life. Yes, we must learn to live in harmony with society, but to restrict ourselves to our socialization is to live a wasted life. Worse yet, tenaciously clinging to our personal social ways to the exclusion of other cultures promotes prejudice, polarization, non-acceptance, and outright war. The news and social media is full of stories of the current clash of societies due to the insurgence of refugees. There's a heartbreaking picture of a Christian woman kicked in the face by a Muslim refugee for wearing shorts in her own country. The Debate Post reports the former minister Stephen Harper said he was going to introduce legislation which would forbid Islamic face covering while taking citizenship oaths or voting. In both cases, we have men dictating to women how to dress. The difference being? Like the aforementioned jigsaw puzzle, proximity of the pieces is critical. That is to say, while we increasingly need to have acceptance for others, we must discern what's right for us, who we wish to work with, and where to share what we have to offer. Whether we're immigrant or native, Christian or Muslim, to impose our personal ways onto others is not only arrogant, but damaging in the extreme. This is a time of radical social change. We can recreate the world by carefully re-examining our social conditioning to ascertain what no longer serves. We just may find a third option becoming much greater than the sum of its parts. We live in unprecedented times. Lines are blurring, society's blending, right rules are changing. We are each faced with a choice: lock down and condemn our neighbor for not being like us, or transcend our conditioning, embrace our individuality, find our soul group, and fly. Our guest this hour is Jan Phillips. Her quest has led her into and out of religious community, across the U.S. on a Honda motorcycle, and around the world on a one-woman peace pilgrimage. A writer, musician, and photographer, she's the co-author of Creativity Unzipped and the author of many other fine books. After this, Jan is the founder and executor of the Livingkindness Foundation. After this commercial break, I'll introduce Jan, and together we'll discuss social change, spiritual awakening, and the creative soul. So don't go away. You're listening to The Science of Magic. Prior innovative episodes can always be found on our website, thescienceofmagic.net. The Science of Magic is produced by Relmar McConnell Media Company, Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
Gibbs A. Williams, Ph.D., is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at www.drgibbswilliams.com.
This is Johanna Carroll, host of Dialogue with Divinity on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. While walking along Kaanapali Beach in Maui this past year, I kept discovering all these shells and coral in the shape of hearts. My dialogue with Divinity was very simple. Do you want me to do a retreat to heal people's hearts in Maui next year? And of course, the answer was yes. As a master spiritual teacher, I am offering you a neat retreat called Rise, May 8th through the 12th, 2017, and the chance of a lifetime to rest at a 5-star resort for 5 days and experience a spiritual renewal of your heart and soul. Kaanapali is one of the top 5 beaches in the world. This stunning resort has undergone a $40 million renovation. I walked the entire property, checked out the room choices on your behalf, and I must say it is stunning. Our conference room faces the ocean with sliding glass doors. Maui is known as Mother Maui because it is a soft, gentle, healing energy. In the embrace of Mother Maui, you will feel yourself rising from the limitations of an ordinary life to an extraordinary journey of peace, bliss, and harmony. A greater sense of clarity. Our Rise retreat ignites renewal in the sacred elements of air, water, earth, fire, and wind. There's plenty of free time to enjoy all that Maui has to offer. A small deposit is required now to reserve your space, as this retreat, it will sell out. For more details, please go to johannacarroll.com and register today. Aloha, and I'll see you in mystical Maui.
Welcome back. This is the Science of Magic, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour is Jan Phillips. She's a writer and musician. She's the writer of Creativity Unzipped, Non-Ordinary Reality Time, Finding the On-Ramp to Your Spiritual Path, and the Art of Original Thinking, and 8 other award-winning books. Jan is the founder and executive director of the Livingkindness Foundation, which supports creativity, leadership, and social change programs for women and girls. Livingkindness has built a solar-powered learning center in Nigeria, which has 20 computers for children and the villagers. Jan's website is janphillips.com. Jan, thank you so much for joining us on the Science of Magic.
Thanks. I'm so glad to be here.
Would you mind telling us about your pilgrimage? It sounds pretty exciting.
Which one? The one around the world in the 80s? The one to Nigeria? Everyone. Okay. I'll tell you what. I read the book. I was being a picture framer in a mall in Syracuse, New York, and somebody left on my workbench a copy of The 100th Monkey, which everybody by now pretty much knows that theory, but it's really a short little book about the possibility of communicating new ideas without language through the power of our thoughts and intentions, and just very powerful book about this research done on these monkeys off the coast of Japan. So anyway, when I read it, I thought, oh my God, if I could communicate powerfully about being peacemakers without using words, because I was already a photographer who had a slideshow on the peace movement, I said, I'm going to go around the world and make a peace pilgrimage and show my pictures, and we all know a picture is worth 1,000 words. And so that's what I did. I had to save up for a year because I had to save $5,000. That was my money in the bank. When I had that, I decided I could leave. I had 200 rolls of film. I started in Japan, and I went through 23 countries. And that changed my life. I don't know if it had any impact on peace in the world, but I know it changed my life, transformed me totally. Even from from a political activist to a spiritual contemplative. As a result of being in all those countries, 3 months in India, a few weeks in the Middle East, a month in the Himalayas, so Buddhism, Marxism, communism, Hinduism, Shintoism, all those, I feel like I metabolized the world religions. So when I came home, I moved to a very remote part of northern New York and had to write a book to discover what it was that had happened to me, because I'm not an introvert too much. I can't figure out by sitting zazen somewhere what's going on inside. I have to externalize it. So I wrote it down, figured out that I had been totally transformed, and since then have kind of been a mystic with a prophetic mission.
That's beautifully stated. It's certainly going around the world and exposing ourselves, taking the courage to expose ourselves to other ways is very transformative, isn't it?
It sure is.
You're the
Nothing
founder.
compares.
Yeah, I'm with you there. You're the founder of Livingkindness. What is it exactly?
It's a foundation, a 501c3, because in this country, of course, nobody wants to give money unless it can be tax deductible. So any organization that's looking for financial support for an idea or project or mission from other people has to get the federal tax exempt status. So Livingkindness is a 501c3 nonprofit. And the whole reason for it is because in 2010 I was invited to Nigeria by I'm an ex-nun. So I still do a lot of work with sisters, and there was a Dominican sister in Nigeria who invited me to come and do a leadership training program for the Nigerian Dominican sisters for a weekend. So I said, yeah, I'll do that. And she was running an NGO that's just like another nonprofit. She was running another nonprofit in Nigeria that services 20 little villages outside of Kaduna, Nigeria. So I said, in trade, I'd like to go visit 5 of the villages that you serve. And in the last visit, in the middle of the afternoon, the Jeep takes us to this village where there's like 100 kids standing in line in their crisp little uniforms. It's like 2 in the afternoon. I say, what are these kids doing standing in line outside this little like 4-room hut? They call it their school. The guy says waiting for a teacher, but the teacher never comes. But the kids go every day waiting in case a teacher comes. And so they pull me out of the Jeep and they drag me into a classroom and they sit down and they say, "Bia teacher, Bia teacher." And I said, "What's 2 plus 2?" They all raise their arms up, go 4. I go, "Oh my God, they've already learned things." I go, "What's 8 plus 7? 15. They were so excited to share their knowing with me. I started to cry right then and there, but I said to them, "This is your lucky day, because you have a problem and I can help you solve it. I can help you get a teacher here every single day." So I went back and talked with Sister Rita, who's the nun that invited me. I said, "This is a problem. How can we solve it?" She goes, "Well, the problem is the roads are not navigable. The teachers can't make it if ever it rains. They get paid from the corrupt government whether they teach or not, so there's not much incentive." I said, "Well, what could we do?" She goes, "Well, we could, maybe make a learning center where there's an apartment on both sides, and then we could put computers in there, and then the farmers and the kids could use the computers at different times." So I said, "Okay, you find out how much it'll cost. I'll go home and start a nonprofit." And that's what happened. She found out it would cost $25,000 because there's no plumbing and no electricity. It's all solar powered. I started the nonprofit, started to raise money. I raised the $25,000 plus, and then 10 more thousand. And so we put up the Livingkindness Learning Center. And so that was my global work. And now locally, I'm just supporting projects that really give women a better voice. I'm trying to equalize the decibel levels between men and women's voices in North America. That's my plan.
Well, there's a large and worthy goal. Now, men would
Yeah,
argue, they'd say that our decibel is way above theirs, right?
they would, but there's, desperately confused in that regard. They have
So,
more of the airwaves than we do, so we're just equalizing it for everyone's benefit. They will benefit when there's balance.
oh, balance is always beneficial to everyone involved, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
this might sound like a silly question, but why support creativity, leadership, and social change? Sounds kind of disruptive.
It is disruptive, and that's why I support it. Because people go around still to this day, if you can believe it, saying I'm not creative, I can't draw a straight line. And not only is there no relationship between creativity and straight lines, but the whole thing about creativity being only about the arts is really outmoded and dangerous. And so part of my job is to redefine creativity so people are seeing that day by day they're creating their lives with their words and their thoughts. And what we think on Tuesday becomes the life we enter into on Thursday or Friday. We're co-creating our lives. You can't say there's not whatever out there, fate, whatever. People call it all different names. Some people call it God. Some people think of it as fate. It's a great mystery to me, but it's who we're in collaboration with in the matter of our lives unfolding here. But we have more to do with it than we want to take responsibility for. So I'm just saying creativity is about your power to create your life and your power to co-create a culture that really works for everyone in this world. So I'm basically redefining creativity. That's why Creativity Unzipped is called Why Your Thoughts Matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So,
kind of like about the technology, the spiritual technology of creating your reality.
I
That's
like
what
that
it's about.
spiritual technology. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah.
So, how do we create our own lives? I mean, a lot of us sit around and, point the finger and blame fate, like you say. How are we creating our lives, and how can we become more conscious of it?
Well, I think the number one best idea is to have what I identify as a spiritual practice, just spiritual because I'm in communion with the invisible. Otherwise, it would be a material practice, I guess, if I had the Pope or somebody in my room with me. But it's a spiritual practice because it's a time committed to communion with the infinite, where one hooks up into the infinite forces of life and vitality. And in that process, which may seem whimsical and unruly and impractical, all heaven has broken loose for me. And I started out with just doing it. I started out in 1990 doing it for 20 minutes only. And because that's all I felt I could spare. Now I'm up to 40, 45, 50 minutes some days. I'm in there for an hour and a half because it feels like so beautifully blissful to me. But if you only can take 5 minutes, the point of it is to have a commitment to a practice where you create a time of solitude and a time of silence where you don't have your phone on, you don't have your puppy in the room, you're not looking at anything technologically speaking, you just have your eyes closed or staring into a candle and you're in relationship with the force that is breathing you, say. Paying attention only to your breath, having no thought whenever that's possible, which is rarely, but, not judging yourself. But I have found that in that time, even though out of 20 minutes, maybe 17 of it, I'm totally thinking about groceries or, my friends, the process of closing the door, saying I'm not available, I'm not accessible, that has caused me to be so fired up creatively that I'm a force to be reckoned with. I've written 5 books in the last 6 or 7 years because that practice of mindfulness has just wakened up every cell in a whole new way. And so that's what I say. Causes one to be aware, period. And when you live in a state of awareness are dedicated to your thoughts, I hate to use the word thought management because it's not about that, but when you reach a state of grace where if you feel yourself having negative thoughts, then you quickly, just release it, dissolve it. Which just means don't give it the time of day. So I don't go around bashing Donald Trump. I've made a practice of not saying mean things. Occasionally I'll roll my eyes, but I try not to say mean things. And today's our voting day. I'm not trying to talk my brother out of voting.
We're gonna have to pick up with this on the other side of a commercial break, Jan.
All right.
But we will talk about voting. We will.
Okay.
Jan and I will return to our discussion after this short break. We're coming to you through the land of leading edge paranormal broadcasting, the X Zone Broadcast Network. Don't miss the other fine shows and hosts on xzbn.net. You're listening to The Science of Magic, thescienceofmagic.net. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. We will be back, so don't you go away.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we'll weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Welcome back. This is The Science of Magic, a place where magic and science come together to promote enlightenment. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour is Jan Phillips, writer, musician, and photographer, founder and executive director of the Livingkindness Foundation. Jan, we were just about to talk about voting. It seems to me that what we're trying to do when we're looking for spiritual enlightenment is find unity, and yet our systems are very polarized. Can you speak to this and how we can transcend that?
Yes, everything in this material world is seen as a duality. So that's just kind of the ground rules. What we are born into is a world that's polarized. And so the job for us as evolving human beings is to figure out that it's really the best idea you can have in the matter is to connect the two poles, to make a case for both of the two poles, to make a case for both sides, bringing them together. And you all know what happens when you bring two opposites together. That is called new life. You bring a sperm and an egg together, new life. You know what happens when your battery goes dead and you bring those scary cables out there and you connect the negative and the positive? It scares the heck out of you. It's because there's sparks flying, and that's a new life. Sparks fly when we unite the opposites. So I have made it my work, whenever I encounter two sides of the story, to make a case for both sides. Make a case for, in my mind only. In my politics, I always end up, to the left of everything. But in my mind, I work at making a case for pro-choice, making a case for pro-life, making a case for going to war in Iraq, making a case for not going to war, making a case for Trump, making a case for Clinton. And that's just my cerebral workout. It's like my yoga pose. And as a result of that, I stay at peace. I'm able to form a more, I think, enlightened opinion about the matter. And I don't get off my stride. So, of course I voted for Hillary, and I would never vote for Trump in 1,000 million years. But I don't have to my brother voted for Trump, and I don't have to be at war with him about that. I just have to say, let's have the rules be we don't say anything unkind about each other's person. And that's a big rule for him because everybody wants to trash Hillary, and I won't stand for it. So, this is the rules of Earth, and this is where we put ourselves. And so I'm playing by these rules, but I have mastered the transcendence of duality. It's possible. I'm glad your show's called Magic, because, people might say it's magic. Well, anybody is a magician who wants to be.
So true. Creativity, leadership, and social change would appear to challenge the status quo. Have you met up with any resistance to your work and teachings?
I only meet with resistance.
More sparks.
Never. Even people in the workshop resist what you say, even though they're paying you money to say it. Nobody wants to hear you have to have a spiritual practice. They're all, I don't have time. And I'm saying that's your problem. Deepak Chopra says time is a man-made construct. If you need more, make more. It's like people who say I don't have time, you got to wonder who's running their life.
Exactly.
Is some force outside them saying in this hour do that, in this hour do that? They sound like total victims to me. And I just want to say, then I don't have time to talk to you. Because they're like mothers who have a baby who say, I don't have time to feed my kid.
Exactly. What else are you going to do with your time that's more important? than take care of your
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
And isn't our future part of our children, really?
Exactly. So
Do you
anyways,
see?
the whole culture needs an overhaul. So everything is going to be resistant, and it's entrenched in this culture. You look at the church, entrenched. You look at people's attitudes, entrenched. There's still people that don't think that, our climate change is troublesome. They say, I don't have to worry about it. It's in God's hands. I'm boycotting the song, He's Got the Whole World in His Hands. I boycott it. And when people sing it, I say, I'm boycotting. And I sing, we have the whole world in our hands. Because this is our earth. If there's a God out there, that God is not taking care of climate change. And God is so much more massive than any other force. But I don't even try to make a case for God. I bow down before the mystery of it all. But,
Well,
I'm never going to get an argument about God.
We're definitely
I tell
too
people
small to
not to use
encompass.
that word. We're what?
We're definitely too small to encompass the totality of all that is.
There
Our
you
brains
go.
just don't work that way.
Yeah,
So
totally.
I'm okay with not knowing and just trusting, but also
Ah,
taking responsibility for what is mine to do, and that's the key, don't you think?
totally. And what is yours to do is the thing that makes you happy. It's not the thing that hurts you. That's what people, I don't want to do, it's like you don't have to bear the crucifix. You have to figure out what your heart wants to do and do it, because your heart is directed to the right thing. Your heart will tell you the right action. It's not going to be laborious. It's going to be committed, hopefully, if you're going to succeed. I had to go through all the stupid paperwork of LegalZoom.com to create a 501c3. That was not what I would call FUN, but it was part of the great reward of being able to know. I told those kids at tourism that was their lucky day. When I was in front of them and discovered the problem they had, I could help them solve it. But it takes diligence. But the whole thing was joyful for me, even the part, the paperwork. Joyful because it's like, this is going to get me to, get people to write checks, to make it's grassroots activism.
Very true.
I'm not asking the Ford Foundation to help out.
No. So why do you believe we need social change at this particular time?
Because there's kids that aren't getting educated. Because there's families who are living homeless. I can barely walk through San Diego, downtown, without every sense of mine being assaulted by the poverty that I'm, having to look at and deal with. This is not right in a world as rich as ours, and in a continent as rich as ours. It is not right that there are people sleeping on the streets, that there are kids not getting proper educations, and that people are so what they call food challenged. That's a new phrase that is rolling off everybody's mouth. Food challenge means you don't know where your next meal's coming from. Instead of coming up with highfalutin concepts, I said just throw some coins in the bucket and let's get some food out.
Yeah, it seems like we've certainly lost perspective, haven't we?
I think.
Yeah.
So that's why social change. But it doesn't mean I have to feel. I'm not heroic. I'm not trying to, be somebody like Bob Dylan. I'm not trying to, get famous at this. Little successes are fine to me. I'll go down in history as a nobody, but, I will have made a lot of difference, and that's what counts.
Yeah, that's the difference between service and ego, isn't it?
I think.
Yeah, yeah. How does a person decide what kind of change is needed? I mean, we're kind of all balled up here. How do we start? Where do we look?
Well, I think you just look at what breaks your heart the worst. Because every one of us is broke. My heart broke open that day with all those kids in their uniforms and new teachers. But there's people whose hearts are broken open by the rainforest mess, by the whales, by the plastic in the oceans, by the puppy mills. It all depends on what breaks your heart. That's where the action is. And you look for, what do you like to do? I said to somebody the other day, what's breaking your heart? They go, if kids in the foster care system at the age of 18 are processed out, I go, what do you like to do for fun? What would you do if you won the lottery? They go, play golf more. I say, okay, organize a golf tournament for the kids who are processed out of the foster care system. Raise your money through doing what you love to do, but figure out what to do based on what breaks your heart. And when you put those two things together, it's like it's like connecting the opposites. Sparks fly, you get your ideas.
It sounds to me, Jan, like you're teaching how to lead with the heart.
I am.
First, we have to find the heart, right? How do we do that?
Well, it's the closest thing to, it's the closest door to the brain. That's how. I don't know. You talk, maybe, the throat chakra has to get opened up a little bit before those two things connected. But I think maybe talking to somebody else about what you wish you could do. If you had a magic wand, what would you fix?
So
I'm asking you, answer that. What would you
asking
fix?
Me, what would I fix?
Mm-hmm.
I would fix the people not fix the people, but I would fix the situations that have people believing in their own disempowerment.
Okay. That's a little bit obtuse and abstract, but it's certainly not doable, and you probably are doing it through your use of the airwaves, that you're raising consciousness through the airwaves, and it's a pain in the neck to run an online talk show thing like this, and you have to be committed, and it's an investment of time and money, and you're doing it. It's like, what do they say? Putting your money where your mouth is.
Exactly.
So that's what you're doing. That's how you're changing things, by affecting people's thinking, by bringing on all these guests.
Do you think that creativity and artistry is a way to open the heart?
I do think that. All my photographs, I think, are healing. I have 3 or 4 photography books. One's called, what's it called? God is at Eye Level. Photography as a Healing Art. It's full of essays about how actually the art, to expose ourselves to the arts, is a healing thing. Whenever I get in a snit and feel powerless, I take myself to the movies. That's what Hollywood is for, right? Because a movie will shift everything, because you enter into somebody else's problem. You get out of yours, you go into someone else's problem, and then when it's over, you've cried, you've laughed, you've had your emotions, then you could be, you're a little bit washed off, so you can but get back into your own reality with a little bit more, power. Grace.
So you're saying that movement of emotion clears the way to the heart?
I think, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. That's why ritual, the church, Catholic churches particularly, of course, I was raised Catholic, and I miss the rituals. I can't abide what's happening in the Catholic Church right now, but I miss the rituals. So as a priest of the imagination and as a priest of, leadership, it's my job at every single workshop or training or retreat. There's heavy ritual in there, which kind of brings home the magic. It brings home the possibility. And when somebody goes to say next day what happened in that room, they're not going to say from the brain, I learned this.
We're going to have to talk about ritual on the other side of this break. Jan and I will be back shortly. You're listening to The Science of Magic, thescienceofmagic.net, the place where altruistic professionals of science and the esoteric create common ground for the betterment of our world. We're brought to you by the leader in paranormal, spirituality, and alternative health programming, the X Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net.
As host of Dialogue with Divinity, I am thrilled to join the X Zone Broadcast Network and their growing number of affiliates. My quest for a connection to the divine ignited my successful career path as an international spiritual counselor for over 40 years, an author of 4 books, and well-known metaphysical educator. My clients call me their spiritual mama. So my job is to offer you a radio show to help you grow spiritually with wisdom and get specific tools from guests who are experts in their field. Tune in to Dialogue with Divinity and be part of the conversation with Spirit. My goal, your happy soul. For more information, please visit my website at johannacarroll.com.
Coming soon to the X-Zone Broadcast Network is A Different Perspective with me, Kevin Randall, as your host. We'll be taking a close look at what is happening in the world of UFOs today with side trips into the paranormal. Guests will range from those who are household names to those who have a different perspective on a variety of topics. No topic will be taboo, but there will be tough questions asked as we all search for the truth about UFOs, the paranormal, and those things that excite us. Sometimes we'll agree with a guest and sometimes we won't, but we'll try to keep the program topical. For those of you who like to read, be sure to visit www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com and remember to listen to the other fine programs on the X-Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net. This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold.
Welcome back. This is The Science of Magic, bringing together gifted people of service to the world. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour is one of those gifted people of service, Jan Phillips, writer, musician, photographer, founder, and executive director of Livingkindness Foundation. Jan, before we had to go into the break, you were just starting to talk about ritual, and I find that to be a very fascinating subject because ritual, magic, religion, and spirituality all have a lot in common. Would you continue what you were saying?
I think ritual is an important part of any activity that is designed to raise people's consciousness, to inform people that, if I was a teacher in a classroom, I would understand the need to bring ritual into it. And that, I think, it's a little bit hard to define, but I think it's an activity or an element that incorporates the deep unknown mystery into the circle, that causes us to walk through that veil that seems to separate us from infinite possibility. To just go ahead and collectively open it up, bring in the infinite, acknowledge its presence, and be in communion with that force. And it's a sensory thing. So that's why incense, that's why candles, that's why processions, that's why intentions. Anybody can make a ritual work. I think we're the new sacrament makers of this day and age, and I hope I don't have to write a book on how to make ritual, because that would make it be canned. And the beauty and the power of ritual is that it comes from the souls of the individuals engaged in it. So that creative leap that they're making in order to enter and create the space to be transformative space is required. They can't be reading from a manual by Jan Phillips. It would take the magic out of it. So it's a weird position I'm in, and that's why every time I lead ritual, I make sure that everyone in the circle is also acting as a priest.
That's so important, isn't it? Because what we're doing with ritual, by the way you've described it, and certainly by the way that I work with it, is to create a common ground where unity can be supported, we can access the infinite, and let go of polarization. It seems like that just boosts everything we do off the charts, doesn't it?
It does.
Before we get too far into this last segment, Jan, would you please tell people where they can find your books and services and keep up with what you're doing?
I think the most important thing is everything is available on my website, janphillips.com. But the most important thing is up in the right-hand corner it says sign up for Jan's newsletter. It's only called a newsletter because I have a book called Marry Your Muse. So it's a little play on words, but it's a very serious, although fun. I always have little New Yorker cartoons. I always try to make people laugh and cry with tenderheartedness and humor. And it's a poignant newsletter. It's I always say to people, it's like Paul to the Corinthians, only better and more contemporary. But it's a monthly letter that I send out to people. And I just sent out one this morning, and it was, so for people to be in that circle, it's very revitalizing for them, because they get a message from me that says, I believe in you. Because people on their own, people out there in the middle of, Saskatchewan or Nebraska or down there in the South, there's not a lot of support in their communities, perhaps, but we're getting our support from the global community right now. So I just say, join my circle. I will never let you down. I will always be there as a reminder of your possibility and your power. So that's what I say to people. And there was a Balinese dancer who said once, there's someone out there who needs you. Live your life so they can find you.
Beautifully put.
I do that. You're doing that. But I think it's important for all of us. People are namby-pamby about their marketing strategies. But, when I read that quote, I thought, whoa, that turned me around totally. And I just made it a point thinking, oh, my God, people need me. I got to make it really easy for them to find me. And now it is. If they can remember Jan Phillips, they can find me in a minute.
Jan, thank you for such a beautiful service. We all need agreement, alignment, and support during these traumatic times, I think. And one thing that you said that I just really love, and that's make you laugh and make you cry. There's a shamanic concept, Celtic shamanic, that says enlightenment is attained through embracing the joy and sorrow sine wave. In other words, going to our highs, going to our lows, and then finding that lullaby in the middle where we can access spirit. And it sounds like you do that.
Yeah, I do that.
Wonderful, wonderful. So let's talk about leadership. It's election year. It's hard not to examine leadership and what it means. What are leadership qualities do you promote and why?
Well, one, I think the most important is to be authentic and to know what you're saying. If you know what you're saying, you don't have to rely on anyone to tell you how to say it. You just speak from your heart, and people in the audience get it, that they can trust you. I think that's like the number one and maybe the only requirement because we're guided toward goodness by the powers behind us. We're influenced by the universe's role. I think the desire towards love, the desire of the whole cosmos towards beauty and order and peace and justice, I think that our inclinations are good and we can trust them. So anybody who finds themselves in a leadership role, whether you're teaching first graders, preaching from a pulpit at the United Church of Canada, who knows? Whoever knows what leadership role we take, but we're all a leader to somebody. So the only requirement is not to know things, but to feel things. And people are looking for someone who feels things and who talks about those feelings. That'll make everything break open.
When you speak of feeling things, isn't that kind of the porthole into wisdom, is being able to feel them and embody them?
The portal into wisdom is, I think the thing about wisdom is that we have experiences that cause us to be wise, but we have to harvest them. And it's like all those experiences of our lives, which we think of as tragedies and travesties and traumas, calamities, those are the seeds of our wisdom. But we have to master them, which means you get to the point where there's nothing to forgive. And when you tell that story of that thing that happened to you, it's not they done me wrong, but there's some gratitude there at the end. That's the mastering of the ordeal. And when you get to your place of gratitude, then you will have collected your wisdom, and you will know what you know that no one else knows. And that makes you the expert. That gives you a gift to share. So when you're sitting at the Thanksgiving table or sitting with a bunch of people at happy hour, you got something of value to share because you were beat up and you learned something from that. That's how wisdom is acquired. It's not just doesn't just seep in during your mindfulness practice.
So it speaks of the value of being a maverick, of stepping out of the safety zone, of experiencing life, the good, bad, and the ugly. That's how we harvest our wisdom?
No. Harvesting it means looking at what happened and saying, I get it, I know, I can connect the dots between the pain and the wisdom. And there's no one to forgive. You're not stuck in the they done me wrong part. That's, to me, the trajectory into wisdom is the knowing how to look at every event of your life, even if you were raped, even if you had a leg blown off in Iraq, even if you ended up with a kid with Down syndrome or something, to be able to take every experience that brought tears to you and to run it through until the ending where you say, I'm grateful for this because now I have some wisdom I wouldn't have had.
So it sounds to me like the key is that grateful heart piece. Is that true?
Grateful heart is the key. Nobody's wise without a grateful heart. There's no wisdom without a grateful heart.
And the gratitude pulls us out of victim and into power?
I don't know if it's the gratitude that does it. I think it's our grist and our hard work and our discipline at spinning our story till we get to the gratitude part. There's work in the process of mastering these ordeals. It seems like there's people that we may need to forgive, but I have reached a point where I recognize there's nothing to forgive. Every incident that happened, and I've been raped, I've been brutalized, I've been assaulted, I've had a gun pointed at my forehead, I've had a car injury, I had a car crash that gave me third-degree burns on my back, I almost died twice. I'm not saying I have lived through some big stuff.
Time flies and we're out of it. And I'm so grateful that you lived through your big stuff to share your wisdom with us today. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for this chance. Okay, adios.
Our guest this hour has been Jan Phillips, writer, musician, and photographer, founder and executive director of the Livingkindness Foundation. Jan's website is janphillips.com. This has been The Science of Magic. Remember, you can always listen to past thought-provoking episodes on our website, thescienceofmagic.net. Don't forget to join us on the next episode of The Science of Magic. Until next time, dear ones, may you be blessed with knowledge and comforted with love as you live an inspired life.
Searching through the night.